Halacha k'divrei mechriya. The halacha is always like the guy who came up the middle. Chutz, except for one case, mikula matlanius. Now we learned the case of kula matlanius. It's speaking. Mikula matlanius is someone who had a beged. He had a piece of fabric that he had used as a bottle stopper. He used it as something that's mevatalit from the status of being a beged. Now it was between 3 fingers by 3 fingers and 3 tfachim by 3 tfachim. So somewhere between 3 inches square to 12 inches square. You had that middle-sized beged, and you used it as a bottle stopper, which is mevatlet from the Torah's beged. And then what happened is you either hung it up on the hook in your house, you didn't throw it out in the garbage, and you didn't put it in your linen closet. You either hung it up on the hook in your house, or you threw it behind your door. And the question is, are there any of those two actions, do any of those two actions show that now I want this to be a beged once again, and therefore it will once again be mekabel tovah? So if I remember correctly, what happened is that Rabbi Eliezer holds that whether or not you hung it on a peg on your wall, or if you just threw it behind the door of your house, if you didn't throw it out in the garbage, it's a clear sign that you want to reestablish your status as beged, and it will be mekabel tovah. If you said no, it doesn't matter if you hung it on the hook, it doesn't matter if you threw it behind your door. If you didn't put it in your linen closet, there's no way I consider that making it, reestablishing its name as a beged, and it'll be tar. It's not mekabel tovah. And Rabbi Kiva came up the middle, and he said, if you hung it on the hook, which shows a little bit more cheshivas, then it's going to be tummy like Rabbi Eliezer. But if you just threw it behind the door, that doesn't show cheshivas, and therefore this beged will be tar. And that's what Rabbi Kiva said. Now, the exception to the rule of halacha k'divrei mechriya is this case of Rabbi Kiva, where he passed in half and half. As we know, Akiva is always the peacemaker. Dr. Lamar over there, it's ein halacha k'divrei mechriya for 2 reasons. Chada to Rabbi Kiva Talmudu. Rabbi Kiva was a Talmud of Rabbi Shua and Rabbi Eliezer, so he can't stick his head in between his 2 Rebbeim and Paskin. Another reason why Rabbi Kiva is not a machriya there, and we don't pass like him, is a hadr bei Rabbi Kiva lagabe Rabbi Shua. The Gemara ended up bringing a raya from our Mishnah, from the Mishnah in Shabbos, that Rabbi Kiva was chayzer and is totally muddy to Rabbi Shua, that regardless if you hung it up on the hook or if you threw it behind the door, it's going to be tar. So Rabbi Kiva is b'chlal not a machriya there, therefore there's no halacha k'divrei mechriya. But everywhere else, halacha is k'divrei mechriya. And in our case, Rabbi Yehuda was a machriya because he's the one who compromised. He said, "B'cham and aser, and by tzayim mutter." So is that how you know that Rabbi Yochanan paskins like Rabbi Kiva, or did you hear Rabbi Yochanan paskin beferish like Rabbi Kiva? I'm sorry, like Rabbi Yehuda, So what's the difference if Rabbi Yochanan paskin beferish like Rabbi Yehuda, or if you only know the paskin like Rabbi Yehuda because he's a machriya? So tomorrow, because when do you say halacha k'divrei mechriya? That's if in a Mishnah there's a machlokes and the third Tana paskins a little bit like A and a little bit like B. That's significant. That's what we pass like the mechriya. Maybe in a brisa which isn't as reliable as a Mishnah, maybe then we don't pass k'divrei mechriya. So therefore, I'm asking you, Rabbi Bachana, did Rabbi Yochanan paskin like Rabbi Yehuda beferish, and then I'll trust you on it, and I'll accept the psak? Or are you only saying it because halacha k'divrei mechriya? And if that's the case, I don't accept that psak, because this shaila between Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Shimon, and Rabbi Yehuda is a brisa. Amalei, Rabbi Bachana answered, I'm not beferish shmili. I heard Rabbi Yochanan paskin beferish like Rabbi Yehuda, that one may shower with cold water on Shabbos, and one may not shower with warm water on Shabbos. And since I heard it beferish, we accept that psak. Zok the Gemara about you. Itmar. What happens if you have warm water that was prepared from Friday? Rav holds on Shabbos, you're allowed to wash your whole body, but only one aver at a time. You're only allowed to wash your hands and your face and your feet.
Yosy.
Yes.
Can we back up for a minute?
Sure.
What is the issue? This is a takana of some kind, right? What is the issue? Why should it be usher? What are we worried?
I don't know if it's a takana or not.
Then there would be a machlokes, if on the what the derice is. So
Well,
what
the
is?
Shabbos, you're right. It's not a Shaila with a Rashi. There can't be a Rashi to take a shower. So you want to know what would the Shaila be totally in?
Pardon me?
You want to know why it would be usher?
What's the svara behind each position?
If we look back at Rashi on Daf Lamed Tes Amud Beis, so let me just get my camera focused on this. If I look at Rashi, Rashi seems to say over here that it's always a shaila. It always has to do with a shaila if you're going to end up warming up water, because here it says b'chli the haraya aimer hayom huchamu u'muchamilsa told us arninu the asi lahacha b'Shabbos. So it seems that everything goes back to, do you say that this action will lead to warming up water on Shabbos, which is an issue deraisa?
I seem to remember when learning the halachas as a kid in Eitz Chaim that they were worried about squeezing out a towel and stuff.
We're going to get to there in a second.
Second.
We're going to get to that shaila in a second. But you think the Isru Rechitza is because you might end up squeezing out a towel. I didn't see that here. Maybe we'll see that later. But there is a Gemara later about a chash of squeezing out a towel, but that's not.
Okay.
That's not directly there.
All right. So let's assume that it's maybe a warm up water. So what's the difference if you do one aver at a time or yes, not? It doesn't seem to be a big difference.
Well, let me ask you a question.
That's the
ask better. Why if it's only for Panov, Yadav, and Raglov, are you not choshit that he'll warm up chamin? But if it's his whole body, you do.
That's what I'm asking.
So I guess the real chashash is if you totally bathe in water, that's the worst, because if you're totally bathing in water is the biggest gzeira. Everybody seems to agree that you're not allowed to do. Then the question is, was showering your whole body or showering one aver at a time? That's where it becomes a shaila. At what point do we say it might lead to heating up?
At what point? So the one Mandi Amar says the hands face, right, and the other one is each aver at a time. Is that the?
Yeah. So Rav holds that you're actually allowed to take a full shower on Shabbos as long as you only wash one aver at a time.
May I suggest that maybe it means that because you're making a shino, you're gonna it's like the same thing when you're covering the stove, right? When we make a blech, the reason is you're making a shino. Here also you're making a shino, so a person's not gonna
I just want to focus. Rashi says that it's not that I might do it. Someone who sees me washing might think I did, and then he'll do it. I think that's
so it's a mar sign.
The haraya omer hayom huchamu. But like Mechi says, if I'm doing it in a weird way, the royal will realize, hey, this is weird stuff. Why is he doing it in such a funny way? It must be he's complying with halacha. That's probably, I assume that's what you mean, Mechi.
So Yosy, what's the heter then to go to a mikveh on Shabbos?
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Right.
Well, you were thinking. Don't tell me you were thinking of going to a mikveh on Yom. I don't mean tomorrow. I meant to just in general. But isn't that? And that's the whole body.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping that's gonna come out. And the question is going to the mikveh called rechitza.
Well, it's something, right?
Nobody goes to the mikveh to get clean. That's clear from all the guys.
I'll tell you why I'm asking that. Because we're going to soon see the shaila of swimming.
Physically. Nobody goes to get clean.
The shaila if you're allowed to go swimming on Shabbos, right? You're not allowed to go because it's a gzeira. You might make a raft. Why do you, if just dipping in water is called rechitza, why do we need a gzeira that you might build a raft? It should be also as rechitza. So it must be rechitza doesn't just mean dipping into water. It means cleaning yourself.
So nobody takes a shower before they go to the mikvah on Shabbos?
No, for sure not. See, now there's one more reason not to go to the mikvah on Shabbos.
Right.
You would smell the guys coming out of the mikvah on Shabbos. You would know that nobody took a shower.
I don't want to think about what's floating in that mikvah.
Neither the people go.
They obviously don't think about
No,
it.
that's why the minute is not to wear your glasses in the mikveh. Okay, Zog the Gemara weiter. Zog the Gemara weiter. There's new meaning to the comment of Ein Doimer Shmiel Ariya.
Yeah.
Okay, so Rav holds that you are allowed to wash your whole body one aver at a time. Shmuel Omer lo yitiru lirchatz al panav yad v'raglav. Meisher, the Gemara wants to challenge Rav. Chaman shehuchamu me'erev Shabbos. If you warmed up water from Friday already, lamachar on Shabbos roichetz behen panav yad v'raglav avaloi kol gufay. So that seems to be very clearly inconsistent with what Rav said, because Rav said you could wash kol gufay aver. Tiyufta the Rav. Omelach Rav loy kol gufay v'vasachas ela aver. I'm not saying that he can wash his whole guf at once. I'm just saying he can wash his whole guf one aver at a time. Furthermore, how does that help you? Panav yadav v'raglav katani. The Brisa says you can only do panav yadav v'raglav, and you're allowing his whole body. So up to the Gemara, what Rav would explain the Brisa is ka'en panav yadav v'raglav. When the Brisa says Chaman shochum me'erev Shabbos l'machar roichetz ben panav yadav v'raglav, means the machar roichetz ben his whole body, just like panav yadav v'raglav, meaning aver. Toshma, the Gemara has another challenge to Rav. Leitir lichas b'chaman shochum me'erev Shabbos ela panav yadav v'raglav. So Gemara Hachanami, the same thing. Rav could say the same answer over here. That means ka'en panav yadav v'raglav. But Tanya Kavash with the Shmuel, we end up having a raya that says exactly like Shmuel, that you're not allowed to wash your whole body aver, because it says chaman shochum me'erev Shabbos l'machar roichetz ben panav yadav v'raglav, and it explicitly says avoloi kol gufay aver. And the Ein Zarach Lemer Chaman Shuchum V'Yom, and surely if you actually warmed up water on Yom Tov for taking a shower, you're not allowed to use it to take a shower with on Yom Tov. You're only allowed to wash Panav Yadav V'Raglav. Now Rabbah takes it to an extreme. Rabbah holds that Rabbah is even more makel than what we thought, and that is you can wash your whole body Panav Yadav aver. Rabbah Masala Hashmacha the Rabbah Hailishna. He learned that Rav said something that's even more cool than it. Chaman Shahuchu Me'erev Shabbos. That means you can wash your whole body together. All you have to do is stick your foot out of the shower so that your foot doesn't go wet. That's a huge skula, because your whole body you don't even have to do aver. On that, then there were two kashas that we asked earlier, were asked on Rav, but this time tiyufta. This time Rav can't answer that he means kol gufoy aver, ke'en panav yadav v'raglav. Because Rav wants to say that you can actually wash your whole guf, not ke'en panav yadav v'raglav. You can wash it all together. So it's clearly inconsistent with these brises. So according to this nusach, Rav would be abgefrekt because of the two brises. That's the more quotes. Omar le Rab Yosef l'Abaye. Now Abaye was raised by Rabbah, so everyone assumed that Abaye knew Rabbi's minhagim, and Rabbi Yosef happens to have been Abaye's Rebbe when Abaye was a little older. So Rabbi Yosef asked Abaye, Rabba Mika Ovid. Mika Ovid Kishmach the Rav. Did Rabba look like Rav Lukula, and did he wash his whole guf aver? Or did he wash his whole guf except for one aver? What did Rabba do? Amalei, Abaye said, Lo Yadana. I don't know what Rabbi used to do. What was Rabbi Yosef's question as to wanting to know what Rabbi did? Pshita deloy avad. Of course, he couldn't have done what Rav said. The Hotosov, we have rayas from brises not like Rav. So of course, Rabbi wouldn't have done like Rav. So tomorrow lo shmile. Rav didn't hear about these kashas. Rabbi didn't hear these kashas on Rav. And maybe since Rabbah didn't hear these kashas on Rav, maybe Rabbah fused up like Rav, and that's what I want to know. Well, if you're suggesting that Rabbah did not hear about the pircha, the Gemara asked Rav, well then surely Rabbah would have paskened like Rav. The Amar Abaye once said, Kol Mila Damar, everything that Rabbah did, Avid Karav. He always fused up like Rav, Ba'am Mahanitlas, David Kishmul. Except for three cases where Rabbah did not fierce like Rav, rather in 3 cases only, Rabba Firzach like Shmuel, and we had this Gemara before as well. Matila mi beged lebeged. Rabba Pasam like Shmuel Kula, that you could take tzitzis from one beged, put them into another beged. Madlika mi ner l'ner, you let a light from one ner, Chanukah to another ner. And Ba'alocha Reb Shimon Begreira. And he also passed on Reb Shimon that you're allowed to drag a bench across a yard, even though it might make a chritz, but it's not for sure. And that's a davar she'ein machavin. Since you didn't have kavanah to make that chritz, you just want to get the bench from point A to point B, it would be allowed. So Ibazoi, we know for sure Rabbah would pass like Rav. So watch Rabbi Yosef's question. So Gemara can chomer the Rav of it. That Abaye said that Rabbah always passes like Rav. That's only when there's a machlokes Rav and somebody else, and Rav is machmer. But Kakula de Rav, in the case where Rav is maker, like in our case, where Rav allowed you to shower on Shabbos, loy of it, there maybe Rabbah didn't pass like Rav, and that was Rabbi Yosef's question. Did Rabbah always physic like Rav, even Lakula, or did he only physic like Rav, L'chum? Ton Rabban. Now we're getting into Hilchos Merchos. So this goes back to talking shop with the Vigdor. They used to have inflow radiant heat in the time of the Gemara. If anyone ever went to Masada, they actually have a mikveh floor, and part of the mikveh floor is destroyed. And you see under the floor there was a series of posts that actually held up the bottom of the mikveh, and there was like a hollow space under the floor of the mikveh that was held up with posts. And in that hollow space underneath, they had a fire. So they literally cooked the mikveh from below. So they literally had in-floor radiant heat. And that's how they heated the mikveh. Well, what happens if I heated the mikveh before Shabbos, and then I shut off the heat? So even though I might still have a fire burning below the mikveh, I have it sealed that the heat will not transfer up to the floor of the mikveh, rather it'll just vent outside. So that is the question. Merchat shepakaku nekavav in the Erev Shabbos. You have a merchat that you stop the fire from transferring heat into the water of the mikveh already from Erev Shabbos. Meaning, on Shabbos, there's absolutely no water heating going on. Zok Gemara, Motzei Shabbos, Roichet Spoi Miyad. Motzei Shabbos, as soon as Shabbos is over, you can dunk in the mikveh. And you don't have to wait b'chtei shiyasu. Normally, if a malacha was done on Shabbos, you're not allowed to have a benefit from that malacha on Shabbos. You're not even allowed to have benefit from that malacha after Shabbos. You're only allowed to have benefit from that malacha if you wait long enough after Shabbos that you would have already been able to do that malacha after Shabbos. So over here, since you didn't do any heating to the water throughout Shabbos, right away Moshe Shabbos, you're allowed to use that warm water. Or pakaku nekav in the Erev Yom Tov, but if no heating went on Yom Tov, rather all the heat is from before Yom Tov, then the macher, even on Yom Tov itself, nichnachts umazia, you're allowed to go in and use the mikveh as a schwitz. So they didn't just go to the mikveh to toivel, they also used the mikveh as a schwitz. You're allowed to go use the mikveh as a schwitz. The Yosy, then you go out to the outer room, maybe the dressing room, and you can take a shower on Yom Tov, not in the same room as the mikveh, but in the next room. And the reason why Rashi says you'd have to do it in the next room, because if you do it in that room, people will be choshed you that you bathed on Yom Tov, which you're not allowed to do. So by going into the next room to rinse yourself off, people won't be choshed that you bathed in chamen on Yom Tov.
Yosy, it's not a mikveh. It's not a mikveh. It's a berchatz.
Right, but it had pools of water, pools of hot water.
Right, but it's not a question of tefillah. It's a question of getting clean.
That's right.
Sorry, Yosy.
Now that we just made that distinction that going to the mikveh is allowed, I should have made it clear that it's a bathhouse.
Yeah, is this arguing with Beis Hillel? Because Beis Hillel says once we're using chamin and whatever for cooking, you're allowed to use it for anything else. So
yeah, of course.
So they're all arguing with Beis Hillel?
No, I think that's only referring to Panav Yadav Raglov. Because on the Amud Beis, even when we wanted to say, like Beis Hillel, we still said that if you cooked up the water on Yom Tov, you're not allowed to shower in it.
Okay, but and I meant to ask you then,
it
wasn't clear there if it was that was arguing with Beis Hillel or not, but
Well, let's go back to Amud Beis. If you go back to Amud Beis, Beis Hillel's halacha of matirin is he just means that if you warmed up the water before you, if you warmed up the water on Yom Tov, you're allowed to wash l'raglav. And Beis Hillel's matirin l'raglav. But
okay.
for sure, Rashi says for sure you would not be allowed to shower in water that you warmed up on Yom Tov. Even Beis Hillel, who allows you to warm up water on Yom Tov, it's only the pun of Yod of Araglov. Beis Hillel would not agree, would agree with Mishama, you're not allowed to cook up water for the purpose of showering.
Sure.
Okay, so let's see what we have over here. So here you have this merchatz. You warm the water up before Yom Tov. So the halach is on Yom Tov you're allowed to use it as a schwitz, but on Yom Tov you're not allowed to bathe in it, and therefore even though you're only rinsing yourself off, you should do that outside of the room where the hot water is, so that people shouldn't think that you warmed water on Yom Tov. Okay, or people shouldn't think that you're bathing, and if you're doing in the next room, there's no problem. Rashi always, you can see Rashi inside. The outer room. You shouldn't rinse yourself off right there where the hot pool of water is. So people shouldn't say that he's bathing. The asur is a rechitza. Bathing is asur. You're allowed to go into a schwitz on Yom Tov. Well, how does he do that? He just sits or he stands in this hot, sweaty room. But he doesn't actually put water on him. He just gets very hot from the steam and he starts to sweat. That's all he's allowed to do. Amar Agudah said, there was a story with the bathhouse of Bnei Brak, exactly like the case we're discussing. And Lamachor on Yom Tov, Nichnas Rabbi Lezer ben Azariah of Rabbi Kiva, the Yeziboi. Rabbi Lezer ben Azariah and Rabbi Kiva went to the Schwitz Yom Tov in the day. The Yosy v'nishtafu b'beis hachitzon. And where do they rinse themselves off? They rinse themselves off in the beis hachitzon. Elo shechamin shalom mechubim b'nisorim. There, besides the fact that they didn't heat up the water in Yom Tov, in addition to that, they actually covered over the hot water with boards as an extra shmira. Now Tosha speaks out. Rabbi Yehuda, if we remember on Amud Beis, he's the one who came up the middle, and he said you're allowed to wash yourself in cold water, but not in hot water. So Tosha tells us that they were mishtatef beis hachitzon, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it must have been in cold water. Now,
is the rinsing here ever, or can you do your whole body at the same time?
You could do your whole body at the same time. Yeah, you can do your whole body. Yeah, it's only on Shabbos.
Because they're rinsing in cold. Is that because we're assuming they're rinsing in cold water at this point?
No, because there's a three-way machlokes tanoim. According to Rabbi Meir, you're not even allowed to rinse in cold water. According to Rabbi Shimon, you can even rinse in hot water. And according to Rabbi Yehuda, you could rinse in cold water, but not in hot water. That's what it's referring to.
So you're rinsing your whole body in cold water. That's what.
Right.
That's how Rabbi Akiva would have.
Taking a cold shower, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. When the Chacham heard about the story, they said they didn't even need to be so frum. Even if they wouldn't have covered anything over, they still could have done this. You're allowed to go to the schwitz and then take a cold shower afterwards. However, it all changed after the takana. And the takana, of course, occurred after Rabbi Lezer ben Azariah's time and after Rabbi Kiva's time. And when people started doing averos, and we'll soon see what the problem was, his chibul lesser and batiyah krochen, they outlawed even going to the schwitz of big public baths in big cities. Now it's funny how they had their public baths, because Metalben, if you wanted to walk through them, because they were on your way walking, you can walk right through them. So it's interesting how those bathhouses were set up, that people strolling down the avenue would walk right through a bathhouse. The Mamish had their bathhouses in public. It was almost like a water park, like we have here in Toronto. You're not allowed to go in the water park, but you're allowed to walk right through it. But you were not allowed to go to the Schwitz anymore. So they outlawed going to the Schwitz. My over Avera, what exactly happened? What Avera occurred that they had to outlaw going to the Schwitz on Shabbos? The Amr Reb Shimon ben Pasi, Amr Reb Shimon ben Levi, Shimon bar Kapara, B'tchila ha'yurech shemechamen, shehochamu me'erev Shabbos. They used to wash in chamen that were heated before Shabbos. And then, since people would come to the Beis HaMerchatz and they would want to wash in warm water that was actually heated before Shabbos, there was a huge demand. So, of course, everybody was very makbid. And when they came to the mikveh, when they came to the bathhouse, they asked the attendant, I just want to make sure, was any malacha done here? Or was all the water heated before Shabbos? He said, no, we're very firm here. Everything that was done before Shabbos. No heating happening here on Shabbos because he wanted his customers. But what really happened was the people who ran the Beis HaMerchatz, they were not honest. And they told people that they were only warming things Erev Shabbos and not on Shabbos, yet they were actually warming things on Shabbos. So because of that, Asur es hachamin, they said you're no longer allowed to take a warm shower in bathhouses, but the tiru es hazeya, but you're still allowed to go in there just as a schwitz, but not to wash.
They called it mikveh gate, I think.
That's right. It's literally a mikveh gate. It was a scandal in the mikveh. Today we have different type of scandals in the mikveh.
Yeah.
The tiru es hazeya, but they still allowed you going to the schwitz. But now already the scandal spread to the Hamoinam, not just to the people who ran the mikveh. And what they would do is, people said, listen here, these Rabbanim are so fanatic. Because my Baal is an Erlich guy, he's never going to start cooking things on Shabbos. It's nonsense. And I want to wash myself. Why can't I wash myself? So people would wash themselves. When they would come to shul, people would say, you took a shower on Shabbos? We're not going to give you shlishi. But they would say, what are you talking about? We didn't wash. They would say, we didn't wash. I saw us in the bathhouse. We weren't washing there. We were just going to the schwitz there, which is allowed. So because of that, the Rabbanan had to totally outlaw doing anything in the Beis HaMerchatz, even Zayah. And then people can't even go in because there's nothing that they're allowed to do there. But they didn't clamp it down so tight. They still allowed people to go to the schwitz in Chametz Feria. But the problem is, there was already something that's called, what's it called? Green something. When you fake that you're environmentally friendly.
Greenwashing.
Greenwashing. There was greenwashing. This guy would have a big sign on his mikveh, Chametz Feria, heated the Chametz Feria. We're completely environmentally friendly. No carbon emissions are produced in the heating of our water. We're totally done through Chametz Feria. And meanwhile, they had a gas burner there. So Bajir ruined the whole takana because people continue taking hot showers, but all they did was they bought carbon credits. They said we're green. They said we don't cook these things on Shabbos. It's all Chametz Feria. So Bajir undermined your Gzeir. So the Chum had to climb down even further. Also, Lehen Chametz Feria, they didn't even allow you to go to the schwitz and Chametz Feria, but the Tirlon Satzonim, they allowed you to take cold showers. And you know what? The Olim rebelled. And the Olim says, you know what? Enough is enough. This is too fanatic. We're not listening. Rosh ein hadavar oimid lahem. They saw that people will not listen. Rashi says, shalahoyu at tzibur, shalahoyu tzibur yicholim lakabel. You clamp us down so completely, you can't go to concerts, you can't do this, you can't do that. People say, no, forget it. I'm doing whatever I want to do because this is not reasonable. So because of that, in order to have any type of takana, they had to back off a little bit. And he tiru lehen Chametz Feria. They still allowed you to go to Chametz Feria in the schwitz, but they still offered you to go to the schwitz in any regular place, only in Chametz Feria. So they only backed off on the last Gzeir.
So how come that doesn't work these days? And even if we don't do it, they still keep the tzkana.
Well, it's not true. Whenever they outlaw a book, everybody goes and runs to buy it. You know, I bought McGillis Lester after they said I shouldn't, because then it was very interesting. So the best.
There's another thing interesting. There's another interesting thing because of a local action in the people in Tveria, the Rabbanon were mater now everywhere. Right?
I hear, but is it not possible that they have hot springs in other places, like in Marenbad?
I don't know. They're not. I don't. No, I don't know. They're called Chame Tveria. They're not called Chame anywhere else.
No,
Yeah,
it's
but
hot
I think it's the
hot
same thing.
spring.
Any hot spring would be the same halacha.
Go to Iceland, they have hot springs. The hot springs.
Okay, but they rebelled in Tveria. It was only the local populace in Tveria that rebelled, and then now the Chachomim said now it's mutter everywhere to do what we said previously was usher because of the local populace in Tveria.
So it seems like
okay.
there was a lot
Just
of
a comment.
weight given. Yeah, it's a good point. It
But
seems
wasn't
like
Tveria?
there's a lot
Tveria
of-
was the capital at the time. No,
What?
it was a. No, it wasn't. I mean, are we talking about this is after the Churban? No.
Yes. Yes, this is after the Churban.
Right. So Tveria.
So even if it was the capital, there were still many people in Babylonia.
I understand, but wasn't
Were
Tveria
there not a lot of
seat
people in
government
Babel?
for a while?
It must have been an important place. Chaim Tzvi's point is well taken. That
Yeah.
obviously Tveria had a lot of significance because that dictated what Gezeres were made. Yeah. Omer Rava, which you see from here, from this price here, the high man, the Avar, the Rabbanon, Shori Lemikri Le'avayama. You're allowed to call them Shaygits because over here we called the Oiver Avera even people who didn't listen to the Gezeres that come. The Mela, the first set of the Konas was for a Dairaisa, where the Balonim were actually doing the Chil Shabbos. But the second case was the people who were not listening and they were still taking showers. They were also called Oiver Avera. So you see, someone who doesn't do Adar Rabbanon, you can call him a Shaygits too. So if you want to be able to say, oh, yeah, he's a Shaygits, if he's Oiver Adar Rabbanon, you have a license to call him a Shaygits. Okay. Now, as a command, this whole concept of not being able to, or being able to shower, not being able to shower, and the Oiver Avera caused it that we can no longer shower, that's consistent with the next Tana. The high Tana, Anvatio Shel Krachim, the big bathhouses in big cities, Metayal Ben Veinachos, you should let to walk through them. And Amarava Davke Krachim, Davke in big cities, about the Kvorim, but in small cities, law, you wouldn't be able to walk through the small private bathhouses. My time out, even the Zutrin Nefesh of life, since they're small, they get very hot and steamy, and even walking through them would cause you to sweat. And since they're abundant, outlawed sweating, you're not allowed to go through a small bathhouse because that's like you're going to a schwitz, but you are allowed to go through a big bathhouse because we're not cautious that you're going to start sweating. Okay, Zog to Gemara weiter. Tell her about Mischamim Adam Keneged Hamadura. A person is allowed to sit by a fire to warm himself up. You could sit in front of a fireplace and get yourself warmed up. And afterwards, and afterwards, you can go rinse yourself out with cold water. So you're not sweating, you're just warming up a little bit, and then you're allowed to rinse yourself out with cold water. That you don't change the order around. You shouldn't first wash yourself off, and then when you're still a little bit wet, when you're a little wet, you shouldn't sit and warm yourself up against the fire. It's going to warm up the water. What's wrong with warming up water that's on you? We know you're even allowed to warm up water to drink. So let's see what Tosfos says. In the next Gemara and in the Mishnah, in the next Mishnah, if you have very hot water, you're allowed to put cold water into it to warm it up. To warm up the cold water, you're allowed to warm up cold water for the purposes of drinking. Mutter. They have sharing loisei. Warming up water is not bishul. So you're allowed to warm up water. So why can't I sit in front of a warm flame when I'm wet to warm myself up? Zaktaishis lahacha the asur and mefarish riva the doime karoichetz b'mayim chamen the yavi lahakam chamen lichatz kufay. So you're allowed to warm up water to drink, but you're not allowed to warm up water for bathing, because if you warm up water for bathing, we're afraid that you're actually going to put up a fire, and that could be a derisive. Okay, so let's see what the Gemara says over here. Thunder abundant. Now we're getting to the issue of a towel that David mentioned earlier. Thunder abundant. Mechem adam alointis. A person is allowed to warm up a towel. We have hot water bottles that we use. If we have a stomachache, we put a hot water bottle there. So what you're allowed to do is you're allowed to put a towel near the fire to heat it up, and then you put that hot towel on your stomach on Shabbos to relieve a stomachache. As long as you don't take literally a hot water bottle, you're not allowed to put a hot water bottle on your stomach on Shabbos. And Rashi says that the reason why you're not allowed to is because we're afraid you'll spill it out. And it's going to come out that you're washing yourself with warm water, and that's not allowed.
So Rashi's not worried about Shlita?
Tosfos is going to bring it up. Very good question. So Rashi obviously is learning that is without a towel. You're allowed to use a warm towel, but you're not allowed to use a warm hot water bottle without a towel. So there's no issue of Shlita. Zok Gemara v'davar zeh, using a hot water bottle, afilu b'chayil asher, is going to be usher even in the weekday. You might burn yourself if your water bottle gets punctured. So Dovi was machavan to Tosfos. Tosfos has a different reason for why you're not allowed to bring this water bottle. And Tosfos says, Pirush kol man shalom tisham. The only isser to bring this water bottle there is if you have the towel still on you. Shem yiplu amayim al halontis. Maybe you'll spill out the water and your towel will become soaked with water. And that will lead to schita. So that's exactly what Dovi said. Inami, another reason why you wouldn't be able to have a hot water bottle, even if you had no towel, is lo yavi mishum refuah, because it looks like you're doing refuah. The gazru atus chikas hamamonim tvei mi balontus to lemefsik refuah. A hot towel doesn't look so much like refuah. Therefore, there won't be gazer that you might come to grind simonim ingredients for medicine. But water, we don't want you to use because that looks like you're preparing a medicine. So we have three different reasons why it would be usher. One applies if the towel is there, as schita, and two apply, Tosfos says as far as schita, so why it's usher, and Rashi shows because if it spills, it looks like lavashim. Okay, so up to Gemara. Tanur Rabban. Maybe Adam kisan mayim. A person's allowed to take a jug of water, and he's allowed to put it near a fire, loy b'shvil sheyachenu, not so it should get cooked up and it should become heated to a point where it's yatcha lettuce, where it's bishul, that you're not allowed to do, ela b'shvil shetavet sinosan, just so that it should warm up a little bit. Now, Rashi learns this is a very cool thing. Rashi learns it's time-based. You're allowed to put it right near the fire, and if you leave it there for an extended period of time, it will cook, and it'll be a deraisa. But Rashi says if you're careful to take it away before it gets too hot, it'll be allowed. Because Rashi says, you're not going to leave it there till it gets cooking hot, which means that you're putting it in a place where it's possible that it'll get very hot. You're just taking it away before it gets very hot. There are other Rishonim that argue in Rashi and say you're never allowed to put it in a place where it can get hot if you leave it there. You're only allowed to put it in a place where at warmest it'll only become lukewarm, but it will never reach the level of yatsa lettuce. So Rabbi Yehuda seems to comment on the Tanakama, but his comment doesn't seem to have anything to do with the Tanakama, so the Gemara is going to have to sort out in a minute what Rabbi Yehuda meant. A woman is allowed to take a jug of oil, and she can also put it near a flame to heat up. Again, she can't wait till it's cooked and it's yatsi lettuce. She could only leave it there enough that it should become warmish. And the B'Shim Gamliel further adds, which again we're going to have to see what he's talking about. Isha sacha yada shemen. She's not allowed to put a jug of oil to warm up, but she could put some oil on her hand. and then and she could warm up the oil on her hand, connected the fire, and then the sachal of cotton, and then she could smear that warm oil on her child. And there's no problem. So let's see what this means. We have a three-way machlokes. We don't even know what one member has to do with the next.
What about Mashiach? I thought that's also on Shabbos. It's a derisa, isn't it?
Oil or cream?
Smearing oil.
Is that on Shabbos? You're not allowed to put oil on yourself on Shabbos? I thought like Vaseline you're not, because it's dissolving it. But oil, you're not allowed to put oil on you?
Isn't there?
Oil you're allowed to, I think. You're allowed to, like, let's say you have somebody, if you dry hand, you can put oil instead of cream.
Yeah, like if you have dry hands, you're supposed to eat herring with your hands. So you get it, you know. No, I think you are allowed to.
I always thought it had to do with how thick it was.
So smearing
I
oil
always
is.
thought it.
I
always thought it had to do with
how thick it is. That means oil you're allowed to, but cream you can't. Yeah, that's what I always thought. Cream you're not allowed to because when you smear it, you're sort of dissolving it in.
They warmed it up by the fire. It made it liquid, and that's when they were able to use it. Maybe that's the issue. What was the reason they put it there?
No, we're talking about shemen. We're not talking about chaylev. They're warming it up so it should be comfortable to put on the child.
There you go.
So I think you are allowed to put oil on.
Yeah.
So Zok the Gemara, the Tanakama was addressing water. Rabbi Yehuda was discussing oil. Well, what does the Tanakama hold about oil? Liboilu shemen mahu the Tanakama. What would Tanakama hold related to oil? Zok the Gemara, Rabbi of Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef, Amri Tavayu lehetera. They hold that you're allowed to use, the Tanakama holds that on oil there's no restriction at all. Not only can you put it near a fire, you're actually allowed to cook oil. You're allowed to cook oil on Shabbos. Rabbi Nachman bar Yitzchak Amar l'Sura, not only does the Tanakama hold you can't cook oil on Shabbos, you're not even allowed to make it warm on Shabbos at all. It's more chomerdik than water. So Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef holds oil is less chomerdik than water, and Rabbi Nachman bar Yitzchak holds it's more chomerdik than water. And now the Gemara explains. Rabbi Rabbi Yosef Amar Tavayu lehetera, because they hold shemen aval pisha yatzei levis boy mutter. Shemen, even though it's fully cooked, you're allowed to do that. Why? Because Savar Tanakama shemen ein boy mishum bishul. They hold that there's no isser of bishul on oil, so therefore you're allowed to cook it as much as you want. There's no such thing as bishul on oil. Oil is exempt from the halacha bishul on Shabbos.
It doesn't cook, or that's just.
Maybe it doesn't change status as much. I'm not sure. I don't have a clear understanding of why. Whatever bishul improves doesn't have that improvement by oil. So how does it work? So the Tanakama holds that oil you have no restriction. You only have restrictions on water. Not only is there bishul on shemen, but not only is there there's an isser bishul on shemen, but But as that's only this kiyacheledes. But if I only warm it up a little bit, it wouldn't be a problem. And that's what Rabbi Yehuda says. You're allowed to warm it up a little bit, but not fully cooked. But also Rabbi Shimon Gamliel and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel took it a step further. And he said, Shemen yesh ba mishum bishul. Not only is there an isher bishul, but tafsheri zebi shulai. Whatever is accomplished by bishul gets accomplished even if you merely warm up the oil before kiyacheledes. So therefore, you're not allowed to do that either. So therefore, he only allows it kalachayad. In the non-conventional way where you're heating it up while it's on your hand. The article brings down from the Bnei Yeshua a very good kasha. Where do you ever find an Isru d'oraisa that is mutar lechatchila kalachayad? Kalachayad means you won't be chayiv. But if you learn that this oil is an Isru d'oraisa to warm up, how could you be matter it because it's kalachayad? So the article says it must be that even though Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says v'efsheri zebi shulai, that could only be derabbanan. So really with deraisa, in order for oil to be cooked, you have to be yatzeledes. It's a chomer derabbanan, not even to warm up oil, and therefore, since it's only a derabbanan to warm up oil, if you warm it up kalachayad, it's mutar lechatchila. Rabbi Nachman bar Yitzchak learns l'isura. Our Tanakam is very machmer, and they say shemen only water are you allowed to warm up, but shemen. Even merely to warm up oil also would be usher, because they hold kasav shemen yesh by mishum bishul, and ve'efsheri zebi shulai, even warming it up is going to be an isur d'oraisa, and therefore by oil it's not allowed, only by water. Then Rabbi Yehuda came along and said, warming up oil is not a problem, only cooking oil is a problem. So Frek the Gemara, according to this nusach, Reb Shimon ben Gamliel Hanu Tanakama. We said that Tanakama doesn't allow you to do anything with oil. Well, neither does Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. So what's the difference between Reb Shimon ben Gamliel and the Tanakama? So the difference is that the Tanakama holds that you're not even allowed to warm up oil kalachayat. You're not allowed to warm up oil at all. You can only use it at room temperature. And Reb Shimon ben Gamliel has this kula that if you put it on your hand and you put your hand in the fire, near the fire, that would be allowed. Echad shemen ve'echad mayim, both oil and water, yad tzarledus by usher, ein yad tzarledus by mutter. So he's taking the stand related to this machlokes, and he said oil and water have the same halacha, which is like Rabbi Yehuda, that if it's yad tzarledus it's usher, if it's not yad tzarledus it's mutter. Ve'echadam yad tzarledus by. How hot is yad tzarledus? Because yad tzarledus means if you touch it, you recoil because you're afraid you're going to burn yourself. Rashi says different people have a different tolerance towards heat. One guy would recoil if it's a certain temperature. One person might only recoil if it's even hotter. So could you give me a litmus test that will be equal everywhere? And he said, I guess the skin on a child's belly is sensitive, and the amount of heat that'll cause a burn on the tinuk's belly is yad tzarledus. I think Rabbi Ox once told me that's 104. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Abdimai. Pam achas nechnasti, and now we're getting to the exciting gemaras. Pam achas nechnasti, acha Rebbe lebeis hamerchatz. I once went after Rebbe into the beis hamerchatz, and I wanted to warm up oil because I wanted to smear oil on him before he would go into the schwitz. I wanted to take a bottle of oil, put it into the mikveh itself, let it get warm because it's sitting in the hot water of the mikveh. Well, Amarli, he told me, my dear son, don't do what you're doing. Rather, take water out of the mikveh in a separate cup, and that's a klisheni, and put it in the klisheni. So from the fact that he told me that, I learned three halachos. Shmami natlas. I learned three halachos. Shmami na Hashem yesh by mishum bishul. I learned that he obviously holds that there would be a problem of bishul or shemen. Shmami na klisheni enim avashul. I also learned from him that putting it into a klisheni is not a problem because the klisheni will not cook. And the question is, if the temperature of the water of a kli rishon and the klisheni are the same, why would a kli rishon cook and the klisheni not? It's the same temperature water. So Toshus explains that the difference between a kli rishon and a klisheni is by a kli rishon, not only is the water hot, the walls of the keli, the mass of the steel, is hot as well. And that will retain its heat much longer, and that will cook. But if the walls of the keli are cold because it's a klisheni, and you just have hot water in a cup, that water will cool off long before it can cook anything. So that's the second thing I learned. And the third thing I learned is Shmamina have Sheri Zabishulai. I was never planning to let the oil get hot. I just wanted to warm it up a little bit. But you see, he's machmir, and he held I shouldn't even do that. Fact of the Gemara, how could Rebbe have spoken in learning and spoken about Advar Halacha? He didn't just say don't do it. He said Toy b'chlisheni. He actually taught me Advar Halacha in the mikveh. You're not allowed to speak in learning in the mikveh. You're allowed to be mahar in Divrei Torah anywhere. So if you look at this, not only is it also to articulate a psak, you're not even allowed to think about a psak. So how was Rebbe able to tell him this psak? And if you're going to say that he was thinking in English, so you might think that the language that you're thinking has an impact. And if you think in English, even though it's in Divrei Torah, it's not a problem. If the language that you speak is not relevant. If you're speaking about mundane issues, you're allowed to speak about it even in Lashon Kodesh. But Shal Kodesh, but Divrei Torah, you're not allowed to discuss in any language. So how was Rebbe allowed to do that? if someone's going to do an Isser, which in Rebbe's eyes I was about to do, he's allowed to stop me. And not only is he allowed to stop me, he's actually allowed to give me details and talk and learning with me in the mikveh in order to stop me from doing an Isser.
So Yosy, is today, our mikvahs today have the same halacha as the merchatz?
I think so. Yeah.
Regarding that? Okay.
Yeah. Teda, and I'll show you another example of a case where lafrusha meisura, you are allowed to talk and learning. There was a story with the Talmud of Rameir. He followed Rameir into the mikveh, and ubikash ladiach karka. Before they filled up his bath, he wanted to wash out the bathtub because it was dirty. He said, no, don't do that. And Rashi says you're not allowed to do that because this was on Shabbos. Because if you clean out the floor, you might be ashvuya gumosh. If there's gaps in the floor, you might smooth it out, and that's also on Shabbos. So then losoch lekaka, that bathtub reeked. It was filthy. So I wanted to pour some oil, some good smelling oil on the floor of the bathtub to mask and dampen out the odor so it should be tolerable. I know some mikvahs that I would love to sanitize so that I don't have to gag when I walk into them. I would like to sanitize some mikvahs so I don't have to gag when I walk into the building. But that's besides the point. Amaloi, he told me, in Sachan, I'm not allowed to smear either. I'm not allowed to smear oil at the bottom of the mikvah. Alma, the fact that he passed from me shows that Afrusha Mishura Shiny. So Hachanami Lafrusha Mishura Shiny. So at the end of the day, Shmamina not clash, Shmamina four things. Because I learned from there that oil has bishul. I learned Hefsheri Zer Bishulai. I learned Klishenia in Mavasho. And I learned you're allowed to say Divrei Torah in a mikveh Lafrusha Meisura. Omar Avina, Shmamina, which another thing you see from here is that I'm a vashel b'chamit tferya b'Shabbos chayiv. You see, even cooking in chamit tferya is chayiv. Because the Maisa the Rebbe, this story with Rebbe going into the mikveh, la'achar gzeira hava. It was after the gzeira, where they said you're not allowed to go to a mikveh anymore. You're not allowed to go to a shvitz. The only shvitz that you're allowed to go to is a chamit tferya, because there they backed off the gzeira. So only that was allowed. And nevertheless, the Amr lay toh b'chlisheni. So you see that even though it was chametz tveria, he still held that it would cook the oil, and he had to stop. V'tein, and then you could put it to klisheni. Any, is that so? Are you actually telling me that if you cook on chametz tveria on Shabbos you're chayiv, it's a deraisa? Omer abchista melashel b'chametz tveria b'Shabbos potter, meaning it's not chayiv deraisa, it's only usher midabon. Dr. Moore, my chayiv nami deka Omar, when we just quoted Ravina a moment ago, who said mevashel b'chametz tveria b'Shabbos chayiv, he meant makas mardos, meaning it's only with the rabbanon to cook the chametz tveria, it's not deraisa. We'll just finish the last two. I'm not chazite the Rabbavo, the shotban bati. I saw Rabbavo swimming in a bathtub, in a pool. I don't know if he lifted his feet up, because maybe the isser to swim is only if your feet are up, meaning you're swimming. But just standing in a pool of water, maybe there's no isser. So I don't know, because I couldn't tell if his feet were on the ground or not. So tomorrow, I'm for sure that he didn't take his feet off the ground. The Tanya we learned, you're not allowed to swim in a tub of water, even if it's in the Rishus HaYachid. Because if it's in the Rishus HaRabim, we understand why you can't splash around in the water, because the bore that the water is in is automatically a Rishus HaYachid, and if you splash water out of the bore and it splashes along the sides, you're taking water from Rishus HaYachid and you're moving it to Rishus HaRabim, which is a deraisa. But even if it's in the Chotzer, which means the whole thing is Rishus HaYachid, so there's no problem with splashing, you're still not allowed to. It must be because the issue of swimming that we're geyser, you might make a raft. So Zok the Gemara, what's your shaila? You don't know if his feet were on the ground or not. His feet must have been on the ground, otherwise he wouldn't be able to swim. The Gemara loy kasha. It makes a very big difference what type of pool you had. If you have a pool that you need a ladder to get in and out of, so it's deep all the way around, there, I understand, there might not be an isser to swim, and that's where my shaila is. But if you have a pool that has the same structure as a shoreline, that as you walk out of it, it becomes shallower and shallower, that's going to a river. The main gzeira of the Isser to swim is in a river or in a lake, but not in the pool. So if the pool is built like a lake or a river, for sure you'll have the same gzeira. But if the pool is not built that way, it's built that it's deep all the way around, you need a ladder to get out, then maybe there's no gzeira, and that's where I was asking the question, did his feet, he was asking about Rabavo, was Rabavo's feet on the ground or not? And I guess we could stop here.
Right, the whole issue of swimming is building a raft. It's not about. I thought it was about schita with the towel or something like that.
No, it's a gzeira. It's a gzeira that you might build a raft.
So in a pool, you're worried you're going to build a raft? I mean, maybe in a river and a lake, but in a pool.
Well, halacha l'maisa, we actually don't allow swimming even in a pool.
Right, and why?
Because of the same thing.
Same
We're
thing.
afraid, yeah,
So
we're
it's
afraid
nothing
you're
to
gonna make
do.
a raft.
I always thought it was because we were worried you're going to do sleep to wring out a towel or something like that.
That's what Dave said.
Look, otherwise, how could you go to a mikveh?
Well, we discussed that before. I mean,
Right,
that
you're
was a
allowed to go
different
to a
issue,
mikveh. So even non-swimming, even just going in a body of water, you would have that gzeira. I don't think there's such a gzeira.
So why are we worried about that? About drying yourself off and with a towel? And I thought it's not an issue at all.
In a mikvah, they're rushing to get out, so they will not dry themselves to the point where they'll see.
Oh, that's why when you see them coming out, their pants are still wet.
No, in a mikvah, they want the kedusha of the water to stay on them, so they don't dry themselves off. So they just get dressed being wet, and they do that. Some people do that even during the week, even if it's not Shabbos.
But there are people on Shabbos who don't use a towel; they just get dressed.
Tomorrow is a very, very fascinating Gemara, and Akiva, I'm going to start it with a joke, and you have to decide whether or not we should record it before the joke or after the joke.
We'll say I better stop the recording now, just in case.
What time are we on tomorrow?
Oh, tomorrow's Shabbos. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So what's
Are
the
we going
Shabbos?
to Shabbos?
So
Yeah.
10:30.
What time is Lechson, or what time is Shabbos over?
It's about 9:15.
Yeah.
With Rabbeinu Tam.
Wow.
So
Rabbeinu